This is kind of a meeting of the Rules and Elections Committee, at least one member. We are expecting Mr. Wesson. I'm the chair, Eric Garcetti, and Mr. Wesson should join us for quorum. If not, we'll send recommendations forward as recommendations by the chair. Public comment doesn't count if you don't have a quorum, so let's go to the first item.
Item 1 is a report from the city clerk relative to a request for proposal that was issued for voting, balloting, and mail management systems.
Okay. Hello. How are you?
Good afternoon, Councilman. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Wonderful. Our reports are rather dense, so I'm going to break it up into little chewable bites.
Okay.
That,
We got Mr. Weston. We just started Mr. Weston, so we have a quorum. Go ahead. Sorry.
Good afternoon to the committee.
Don't worry, just started. No worries.
So the first report of our department before you is the results of our RFP for a voting system. Mm-hmm. And this breaks down into 3 parts: Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3. Module 1 would be an entirely from-scratch new voting system, very expensive. Module 2 would be a very small subcomponent. We call it the vote-by-mail automation system with integrated inserting. Module 3 is also a very small subcomponent. It would be a mail management system. So we put these 3 potential modules out for bid. We received 8 proposals. A review panel consisting of the city clerk, the county registrar recorder, the CAO, and the ITA reviewed the RFPs. After intense review, which is described in detail in the report before you, we came to the following recommendations. On Module 1, the entirely from scratch new voting system, we recommend do not purchase at this time. None of the responders, let me put it this way. Some of the responders had federal certification, but none of them had State of California certification. And for our purposes, we needed to have both federal and State of California certification. In addition, it would be premature for the city to purchase its own at a cost of anywhere from $18 to $40 million instead of leveraging its funds and partnering with the county registrar recorder. The county has already begun their voting system assessment project to accomplish this. Some of the senior staff in the clerk's office attended the county's first symposium and participated in that. I also should mention that ranked choice voting or instant runoff voting is a topic of interest to the council. If council opts to go with ranked choice voting as an election elective, only one of the vendors had real-world experience operating ranked choice voting elections, and that person was not even responsive to the RFP. So that is our recommendation on Module 1. We should watch what the county does. We should leverage our funds with theirs in purchasing this very, very major, significant purchase. The 2 smaller subcomponents, though, Module 2, this would be a vote-by-mail automation system. We do recommend that you allow us to proceed with negotiations with Bell and Howell for the vote-by-mail automation system, and allow us to report back to council to get your authorization to proceed, and for us to work with the CAO to work on a funding plan. The approximate cost is $532,000, but you should know now that doing it by hand is costing us $195,000 per election. So at a cost of $532,000, the cost would be paid for in 2 or 3 election cycles. More importantly than that, human error would be quite eliminated because it would be all automated. Moving on to Module 3, which is another small subcomponent, we are recommending we do not purchase a mail management system at this time. However, the county registrar recorder does have one of their own, so we're asking you to allow us to negotiate with them to use theirs and report back to you with how much they would charge us as a fee to use their system. I have election division staff with me. If you have any particular questions on how the RFP proceeded or anything at all, we're glad to address them.
Okay. What is the county timeline on their equipment and their RFP and all of that? Have they given one, or is they
We
just
are in
kind of-
constant communication. We're very, very good friends with Registrar Recorder. We enjoy a very good relationship with them. As I said, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, they had their opening symposium on the voting system project. They are on their own timeline. The item has been, before their Board of Supervisors for discussion. I cannot say that they have said by date X we will have completed, but they are making progress. Arlene? Would you say that was true?
Yeah, I think the difficulty lies in, the process they want to follow involves a lot of community interaction and technical advice, and they want to gather the information, and I think that's the stage they're at now. They've already gone through the process where they tried to buy an off-the-shelf tally system. It didn't work. It took them about 5 years of going back and forth with a vendor before it got to the point where the vendor simply refused to comply with the last request of the Secretary of State in order to get certification, and so the whole thing just stopped. And so the county's trying a very different approach this time. So I think they've left it pretty open-ended, and they just want to follow through on a process and see where it leads them.
Why do you think there's such a gap between what the needs of government are and what we're getting out of the industry, or the lack of an industry? I mean, what accounts for that, do you think?
I think in many ways society changed so fast because of changing demographics and technology also. As an example, I know that the council is looking at all vote by mail, especially concentrating on single district elections. Well, about 10, 20 years ago, that charter change was put forward to the voters and it was turned down. Maybe now it would change.
That was actually put before the voters here?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
What was the vote? Do you remember?
No, I can look it up, but it did fail. It did fail. My point being, though, is we're operating with a constantly changing social demographic and constantly changing technology. And you have to remember, too, that, and Arlene will give you more detail, a new voting system isn't like one machine or one thing. It's computers, it's machines that open envelopes and stuff envelopes. It's the human factor too. So it isn't one discrete item that you're paying money for and it sits in a room and it chugs along and does its own thing. And it requires so many different parts, such as computer experts to participate, and the poll workers. So, Arlene?
Well, that, and I think the whole environment of elections is in a state of flux ever since, back with Florida, and then the creation of the Help America Vote Act, and the creation of the Election Administration Assistance Commission. And they were tasked with a number of things, but it took them a while to just get staffed up, get their office. They were supposed to come up with a whole testing system and with guidelines for voting systems. And I think they're just at the point now where they've got their lab set up to do the testing, where they're on their third iteration of standards, and where the process is finally starting to move. For a long time, there were no systems getting certified. And so the vendors were kind of in a, they didn't really know whether it was worth their effort. At least this is what they relayed to us, as we were meeting with them, to try to meet the new standards or just try to get through the last set of standards that they were in compliance with. So I think we're just getting to the point now where the EAC did certify 3 systems.
Just in the last couple of months?
Right.
Just in the last couple of months.
They're making movement now. And I think so the environment will start to change, but at the same time, it's the economic situation has created other types of problems, and there are companies going out of business and being acquired by other companies. So that's another change, I guess, going on.
What have you had any contact with this whole open source voting group? Have you heard anything about this?
They've early on when we were using the touchscreens on a pilot project, they were coming through quite regularly. But since those systems have been decertified and we've continued to rely on our legacy system, we haven't been in contact with them.
I've had some people reach out to me, but I don't.
Just as a point of interest, too, to the committee, when we went to that symposium that the Registrar Recorder put on, there was some an interesting talk about possibly making this a public-private partnership.
Right. Maybe
So,
universities.
yes, or
Like
private
first ones, like,
foundations.
yeah, 2 or 3, like Caltech and SC and someplace, yeah. Okay. What's the percentage now? I saw it in the report. What's the percentage now of absentee voters in our elections? Roughly, I mean, I saw the increase like on the mayoral one from 2005 to 2009, but do we have that as a percentage of the overall voters?
I don't have that.
Or even in the last, this special election of the
Right.
of CD2?
Do you have
know?
it with you? I want to say it's around 44, but I'm not sure. What's gone up?
Yeah, I know it went up and the absolute numbers were here. I just didn't know what percentage it was.
Right.
Like,
We can get you that information. I just don't have it with me.
Okay. I think it'd be, as people, I had another council member come to me again about vote by mail stuff, and that does require then a charter change?
Yes,
to be
it
able
does. A charter change and then any accompanying ordinances to implement it all have to be in place, effective, and approved a full 6 months before the affected election.
Okay. Just don't worry, we're not going to be doing it for the runoff for CD2. Unless Mr. Wesson pushes hard.
Trust me, he won't.
And what was the other? I had one other question. Open source, percentage absentee. So the mail management system. What exactly is the mail management system? I couldn't.
The Module 2 portion?
No, Module 3.
No, 3.
3, that was a big piece of equipment mostly, and the software that operates it, but basically it takes, it puts a certain coding on the outgoing mail, and when the mail comes back in, it sorts them into precinct order. So currently we're doing that by hand, and it's a very tedious and error-prone process.
Just for VBMs or for all ballots?
Well, all the precinct ballots are easier because when they come back from the
So
polling
just the normal
places,
ones, okay.
they're
We're
already
still
separated.
We're still hand sorting those?
Yes.
Okay.
But they come in batches, in boxes. And then for those that are set aside on election night for further review, we hand sort those. But vote by mails, each single piece has to be sorted by hand. So that's a,
Right. But Module 2 will take care of that piece?
Module 3, we'll sort them when they come in.
So Module 2 will just help us with the outgoing then?
The outgoing, right.
Okay.
So it's an inserting
Gotcha. Okay.
system.
All right. How much was the Module 3 stuff?
That was very expensive. Do you recall how much it was in here? Was it like 900,000?
So, I mean, you didn't find good equipment, or it was just the cost that scared you guys away?
Well, the county already has a good working system, and it seemed most sensible to just borrow it for a fee instead of for the city procuring its own.
Well, and it's a very large piece of equipment. It's very heavy. They actually ended up having to do structural work to their building
Oh, really?
in order to support both the file system that needs to go with it and the equipment itself. So it ended up costing twice, I think, what they had originally anticipated.
Mr. Weston, any questions?
The only thing that I would say, there was a mention of the reduction in human error earlier. You mentioned that. We probably have a lot of friends that are elected because of human error. So
They could be elected with machine error.
Yeah, see, in fact, machine errors, you probably get it over faster and it'll be more votes. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't want Mr. Zine to take that personally.
Yeah, no.
No, the votes are being counted accurately, simply the sorting. The
I
votes.
know. That was a softball. I can't help myself. Bad memory.
All right. Well, I will move. Let me see if there's anything else. CLA wrote some good questions here. I don't want to ignore those. So I assume if we move on the Module 2 part, that's within your existing budget? Are you asking for a new appropriation? Are you looking at MICLA or what?
We're only asking for approval in concept to allow us to approach the vendor
Okay.
to start negotiations.
Okay.
We will not contract with that person. We will not spend funds. We will come back and report to you for approval to proceed. Also, we will work with the CAO to find the funding. We do not have the funds in our budget.
So you're anticipating it coming from someplace else? in the general
Someplace
fund?
else.
Okay, tough year for that, as you know. Would the county ever consider doing kind of an at cost or almost no cost for the mail sorting?
You mean, would they
Have we done
loan
that?
it to us for free? Is that?
We've never used it before, right?
That equipment,
Module
no, and
Does
most of the.
anybody else use their equipment right now?
No,
So we'd be the first.
yes.
But they've made it clear it's not going to be free.
All the support we receive from the county, we are charged for.
So this shouldn't be different. I'm sure Mr. Weston with his county experience can negotiate a good price though.
Right.
For us. All right. Is not choosing any of the bids for Module 3, are there any legal issues with that? And instead going with the county for the mail management system related to the RFP process? Are we, I don't know if city attorney
Oh,
might be able to answer. Or that city attorney, nope. All right, that's good. You don't stretch your legs and say no on the microphone, you can, but,
Yeah, just, we looked at that, there's no issues with the RFP
okay.
on the legal side or, utilizing the county. I
Right.
think just having to negotiate with the county.
Okay. All right.
And a slight clarification as far as the cost for the module, module 3, I'm sorry, module 2, we're asking permission for the CAO to report back to council on the funding options, since they're the ones that would be more expert than us to do that.
All right, I can predict what that report's going to say, but I don't mind you sending it that way to hear it from them. So I'll move that
Second.
recommendation in the city clerk report.
Thank you very
And
much.
instruct the CAO to work with the city clerk on identifying funds, but to continue forward the conversations with the bidder on the module 2.
Very
Okay.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, number 2.
Item number 2 is a city clerk report that reviews several Los Angeles County election programs that recently received achievement awards from the National Association of Counties.
We were pleased to report on this proposal by Mr. Garcetti. You will be pleased to know that our City Elections Division already practices nearly all the same programs for which LA County won its awards. We just do it in a slightly different form. I will go through each of the 5 award platforms. The first one was the award that the county got for online poll worker training. We mandate in-person training. We want to be very careful that there is no indiscretion by people sending surrogates to take the training for them online. So we do mandate in-person training, but we also offer online training as optional and supplemental, and we do remind poll workers after they're trained that they can download and view the poll worker training video after their personal training. The second platform is voters with specific needs sensitivity training. We do address this topic during our in-person poll worker training, but we do agree that this is an intriguing idea that needs to be beefed up. So what we will do is post the Registrar Recorder's video to our city elections website for supplemental training purposes. The third platform was Enhanced Student Poll Worker Program. We would love to be able to expand that, but city codes limit student poll workers to two student poll workers per polling place. Therefore, both the county registrar recorder and the city's student programs have a maximum number that they can recruit, and necessarily both programs are extremely successful and highly competitive between each other. So that's the story on that. We are limited to 2 student poll workers per polling place. On the next platform, the Ballot Remake system, the registrar recorder has a new digital ballot remake program that is more speedy, but we believe that it eliminates key tracking mechanisms that we feel that our election division would require. So we do not recommend changing our current procedures at this time. We want to keep in place the key tracking mechanisms that the county system lacks. The last platform is the program for Safety First Injury Prevention for temporary election workers. We agree that this is a good idea, and so our recommendation is that you instruct us to develop and implement a Safety First Injury Prevention program for city elections, similar to the Registrar Recorder's program.
Have we had much safety or injury issues? Do we ever issue?
It's very rare. I've been in the election division since 2001. There's only been 2 that I know of.
Mhm.
One where a poll worker alleged that the folded booths fell on her,
Mhm.
and one where a voter fell off of a ramp.
Mhm.
Those are the only 2 I've heard of.
Not a bad record. Okay. All right. That sounds good, and I appreciate hearing that we're doing most of that, and the ballot remake system. I can understand the logic on that. The county won despite that. We'll put it that way. We probably have best in class. Any questions you have, Mr. Wesson? Okay. We'll move approval to the city clerk and recommend moving forward the recommendations on the Safety First Injury Prevention Program, and to post the voters with specific needs sensitivity training on the website, and continue to work with the county on mutual election responsibilities.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Garcetti. And the most important thing, which
Yes.
I forgot, is that your city elections division won an Emmy Award in the year 2008 for the best public service announcement. It's cool to vote.
I
So
saw that,
your
but
city
it-
elections division is not without its honors
It
also.
may be. Yeah. If you want your NOCO award, we got an Emmy, right?
We got an Emmy. We got an actual Emmy.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you enjoyed the red carpet walk. It was a big success. All right, with that, do we have any general public comment? None? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.